I've been waiting to talk about this since since Sunday. I had made my prediction. I thought they were going to get in. I eat my crow. I was wrong. Alabama should have made the college football playoff over SMU. I understand SMU, played against Clemson, and the only reason why they got, probably really the only reason why they got in was because they made it close game. They were down 31-14. But if, I know it should have, would have, could at this point, if they didn't come back and there was not a close game, I think they would have put Alabama in. Now, we can bring this up here with Alabama. The receipts are here. Like Chip Kelly says, I'm going to bring the receipts for the national championship against Oklahoma next year. So we're going to bring up receipts. Alabama beat Georgia. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Oklahoma. Okay, fine. And they beat other teams as well. The Vanderbilt and the Oklahoma losses are inexcusable. However, it is the SEC. So I guess beating Georgia doesn't hold any weight. But two, also at the same time, Alabama, they only have themselves to blame. All they had to do was win one more game. But it's so tough because at some point we have to figure out strength of schedule. Compare SMU's schedule compared to Alabama's. I understand Alabama lost 3 games. I totally understand that. SMU had a great year, their first year in the ACC. But who did who did SMU play? Who did they really play? Duke. Okay. Yeah. And then they beat Pittsburgh when they were ranked at one point, and they finished the season 7-5. How I see it is to get into the playoffs, right? This is a hypothetical. It's never going to happen.
Never.
This is my scenario. Alabama and SMU should play off to get into the playoffs.
Like
the college football playoff.
Like the NBA playoffs where they have a play-in.
Right, like the play-in. Right, we should have a play-in. If we're so about expanding this playoff format, let's do a play-in. If we really want to make it a 14-team playoff, let's do a play-in, just like the NBA does. That's how they do it now. Just like how in baseball they do it as well for the wild card, or just like how they do at the end of the season. Like if the two teams have the same record, let's do that, right? But does strength of schedule really matter that much? If we're not taking in strength of schedule, we're taking in the fact that they had 2 losses and you had 3. Now I know that I said this a few weeks ago, and I stood by it until I saw how it all transpired. The committee was never going to put in a 3-loss team in the playoff. They didn't put a 2-team loss in last year because Alabama and Texas. If you put in Texas, you got to put in Alabama. Because it was a whole FSU thing. FSU went undefeated. Power 5 conference.
Strength of schedule too.
Strength of schedule, right? So, but the thing is like deserving, right? And it sucks because the committee was not going to do SMU wrong. There's too much money riding on this. They figured what they did against Clemson granted them to it. And I read it. I was at the movie theaters watching Wicked, and I'm like, I already know what the committee's going to say. They're going to say that the reason why they're granted in is because they came close to in the ACC championship game against Clemson. That was one of the main reasons why that happened. No discredit to SMU. They had a great season. But at some point, we're going to have to figure out strength of schedule. And even Nick Saban said it. He said, I think one of the things I've mentioned throughout the season is if we don't take strength of schedule into consideration, is there any benefit to scheduling really good teams in the future? So for the future, right, Ohio State should play Alabama. Oregon should play Alabama. Oregon should play Georgia. Ohio State should play that team because we say the SEC is the best conference in college football. If we're all about making it strength of schedule, then let's all just make it this big powerhoous strength of schedule, right? Let's get rid of the teams like, right? Let's get rid of Ethan. Let's get rid of Florida versus FAMU. Let's get rid of USF versus Bama because those games don't matter. Let's play, right?
Let's break it down though. The SEC, as talented as it is, as hard, I believe, is the toughest conference in all of college football. They made that their own issue. They added Oklahoma that they lost to, right? They added Texas. Those are 2 big powerhouses at the time when they were bringing in. That's you loaded up your conference. I'm not mad at it. I understand you're trying to make your conference the best. You have to add competition. That said, SMU should not be punished for that. I believe if we're trying to expand football, right, we should not just be looking at the Big Ten and SEC. Those are the 2 best conferences. We have to give respect to a Boise State. We have to give respect to an ASU. Those schools getting a chance is how we build college football. Respectfully, every year, as much as it was bad for football, TCU versus Georgia, we had a bigger TCU fan base get into football because their team was doing well. That's what I believe the committee wants. SMU over Bama, I understand. Bama lost 3 times. It was in their control though, right? They can't explain losing to Oklahoma, who had no wide receivers for the most part, 3 to 24. If you're that talented as an SEC team, you should be winning. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
You have Ryan Williams. You have a top first-round draft pick at QB. You have Caden Proctor back from Iowa that transferred back. Explain to me how you lose 3 games. It's in your control, right? That said, I understand going forward if people want to play less big out-of-state games. In my opinion, it's good for college football because you never see teams play unless they make it to the playoffs. What if they make it to the playoffs and we get to face Alabama? We get to face an Ohio State. I was at Oregon during COVID year. We were supposed to face Ohio State here. Didn't get to do that. Had to go there. Watch us get that upset, right? Were we expected to win? Heck no. No one had faith in the Ducks. But you give a small school a big shot, nothing to lose against one of the Goliaths of football. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be artwork for the fans of football, and that's a big reason why I'm not upset. Well, that's also because I'm not a Bama fan, but I can understand their frustrations. You're right. Strength of schedule should matter, but if you're trying to build college football, this is actually a pretty solid way of doing it.
No, you make an absolute great point there, and that's the thing too. Like you said, the SEC. But at some point, we have to figure out what we're doing with college football. Yes. Are we going to continue to schedule these tough teams? Or are we going to play lollipop teams and go, well, you went 10-2, you're going to get in the playoffs. Well, you won 11-1, you got to your conference championship, you didn't get in. But I think, the committee, they made sure this year we're not punishing a 10-2 team. We're going to punish Alabama, who lost 3 games. It's inexcusable. You shouldn't have lost to Vanderbilt. You shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma. The Tennessee loss, totally understand that.
Understand.
That's understandable. But the other 2 are not. So I totally understand it. Alabama has only themselves to blame. But, that's the thing, too. But, this could completely come back to bite the committee. If SMU goes to play Penn State and they get absolutely rolled, I don't want to hear it from SMU fans. If they get demolished, if it goes way past -9 and SMU gets rolled, I don't want to hear it.
You're like TCU all over again.
That TCU all over again. The shoulda, woulda, coulda. Well, they shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have put them there. Alabama should be in this year. It's the SEC. It's the best conference of college football. You're sitting on the outside. You lost 3 games. You don't. That's the thing too. So I'm excited to see how this college football playoff will play out.